Hey there, it is March 2nd, 2016, Wednesday, and of course that means Comic Book Day. This week is actually a pretty small pull, only 6 books, so we're going to try and get it done all in one video, and we're going to get started with Batman and Robin Eternal, issue number 22, sorry. This is a pretty simple issue. Basically, the Robins have reached their lowest point with Harper and Cassie kidnapped by Orphan and on a one-way trip to Mother, as she is basically ready to release her final plan to start her final assault on the world and turn all of the world's children and teenagers into her children. And the Robins are at the end of their wits, at the end of their resources. They find no way to track Harper or Cass, no way to stop Mother at this point. Luckily, Damian is there to give them all a quick pep talk to remind them, that they are Robins, that they are possibly the most qualified team of people on the planet to take care of this right now. And that pep talk involves a flashback where we see Damian training with Batman, with his father, and Bruce Wayne kind of spells out why he chose all the Robins. What each of them bring to the mantle, what he really thinks of each Robin and their chances of, who they are as people and then who they are as heroes. And this also shows us how Bruce reconciles making more Robins and training more Robins after finding out about what Mother does. And we find out how he reconciles that, how he thinks he's not training soldiers, he's giving the Robins the tools they need to succeed on their own and do what they want to do on their own. And this pep talk is everything the Robins need to kind of get their shit together and put their nose to the grindstone and try to save the world. It's really a really simple issue, but it's uplifting. I mean, it's, again, just lowest point and then pep talk and ready to go at it again. But it's an effective pep talk. The reasons that Bruce gives for picking all the Robins and who he thinks all the Robins are, they're not new to the Batman mythos. It's kind of a tread of, Dick is what Batman is supposed to be. He's happy Batman. Jason is the Batman without limits. Todd is the super detective Batman. Damian is the kind of more impulsive but the most resourceful Batman. Robin rather. They all have their own strengths and they complement each other to form a good team. So that's pretty much the issue. Again, really short, really simple, but I think effective. Next up, we have Omega Men, issue number 9, and this issue is jaw-dropping. This issue, and this whole run so far has just been really amazing in terms of the questions it asks of the reader, in terms of do they sympathize with kind of the evil empire or the freedom fighters / terrorist group. And this is where things really come to a head. Kyle Rayner goes to the audience of galaxies, rather, in order to give a speech about his time being kidnapped by the Omega Men, what he's learned about the Citadel, what he's learned about the Omega Men, and kind of opens up the debate between the Citadel and the Omega Men all together in the same place with the audience of galaxies watching them. And then shit hits the fan. The Omega Men reveal that they have a secret weapon that they left docked on Rule for a reason, on Vega, is it Rule or Vega? On the planet Vul, that they left docked on Rule for a reason, and that they have one last kind of Hail Mary on their end that they end up setting off. Kind of the final a final nail in the coffin of this thing. It's not really a nail in the coffin because it is an explosion. This is the spark that sets off the powder keg that finally gets both sides at each other's throats, firing with Kyle Rayner in the middle of everything. And it's another moment that makes you really wonder, who's on the right side. Yes, the Empire, the Citadel, committed a genocide, but it was for the continued existence of their people. And the Omega Men are complete radicals. That they are possibly more idealistic and their ideals might be more in line with ours, but they go to extremes. They go to radical extremes in order to get that to attain those things, and that also might be wrong. So just how gray this book is and how unafraid it is to really steep itself in those gray areas and make you question who are the heroes, who are the villains, when is it better to be idealistic, when is it better to be pragmatic. This is an amazing book, and every issue just gets deeper and deeper and makes your jaw drop more and more as you really see the extremes that both sides will go to, that both sides will admit to going in order to accomplish their goals. Moving on from DC to Dynamite with Vampirella #1. Pretty good first issue. I think introduces all the characters well and sets up a nice little first arc plot. We cold open here with this girl doing background for a movie, and of course all is not as it seems. It's a horror movie that turns into a real horror story, although we're not entirely sure what's going on then and there. Then we catch up with Vampirella and her werewolf boyfriend Tristan as they move into a haunted mansion in the Hollywood Hills, and not as soon as they move in, they are attacked by this kabuki ninja thing, apparently hunting Vampirella, is apparently hunting vampires. Die vampire scum, makes it pretty clear there. And so Vampirella is set off on her mission to find out who sent this kabuki ninja after her, this Slade person, which of course ties into the horror movie shoot from the beginning. We also see the diegetic debut of Vampirella's new costume. I like the way how they explain why she got a new costume. It's explained in the book that her internet costume kind of went viral, and so in order to go undercover, she needed a new, a bit less audacious outfit in order to go out on her missions. And other than that, I think the characters are pretty well defined. The new costume doesn't minimize Vampirella's sexual agency. She still has kind of the more sexual dominance in her relationship with Tristan, and it definitely is sexual. It's shown in the book. So it's not like they're making her, they're toning her down any. And she's likable. She's effective, she's powerful, so Vampirella is really cool here. Tristan, too, is likable. He's kind of, a sidekick in a way. He's the partner sidekick, but he manages to keep both with Vampirella's, wit. They have pretty good banter, and they have a nice kind of friendly relationship, more than friendly relationship going on. And, I mean, the reason I picked up this book mainly was I was a fan of the setting. I really like kind of Hollywood stories. I like monster and horror movie stories, and this seems to be going in that direction. And yeah, not the strongest first issue plot-wise, but again, just to set up these characters and the setting, this did a pretty good job, and it introduces a few plot points with Vampirella getting noticed by an agent, and then Vampirella, of course, going after this horror movie set thing. So Vampirella #1, pretty good. Next up, we have, going to Marvel now, Invincible Iron Man #7, which is pretty much Mary Jane's first day on the job. There's some other stuff in the back relating back to Rhodey, and another hero gets involved by the end of this. But the big chunk, the big meat of this book is about Mary Jane's first day on the job and how she plans to rein Tony in, make him more responsible, make him a better person, and have him take control back of his life. Which is a really good excuse for Bendis to do a lot of kind of Bendis-y circular dialogue. It's repetitive, it's circular, people repeat themselves a lot. and they say the same things over and over again. But Bendis still, he has a good ear. He definitely has a style. It can definitely grate. I can definitely see how it can grate on some people. It's because everyone's just saying, so you blah blah blah, blah blah blah, yes I do. You blah blah blah, blah blah blah, I do. And you blah, it's that kind of sort of thing. And I really don't like the new art on this book. I just think everything's way too dark and moody and shadowy, considering this is just kind of Tony Stark and Mary Jane bantering at each other. I mean, what you get with two characters bantering is you get a lot of good character development. We see that, where Tony thinks his own failures are and how he plans to fix them. We see Mary Jane's dedication to her job and kind of beginning to warm up to Tony. We see how the two are surprising each other in different ways. And then at the end, we have a continuation of the story for Rhodey. From last issue, we meet the new kind of the villain of this arc and so on and so forth. Yeah, so if you like character work, if you like kind of circular Bendis-y dialogue, then I think you'll enjoy this issue. If you're not a big fan of Bendis, if you want people to just kind of get to the point already, then pages like this are a big turnoff. Art is subjective, as I said. I'm not a big fan. I prefer more colorful comic art. And again, that's very subjective. But yeah, that's pretty much it's a slower issue of Iron Man, a lot less Iron Man in it. But they're replaced with Tony Stark. Mary Jane, I like how she's coming along in this comic, so gonna continue to pick it up. I don't see how it leads to Civil War 2 quite yet. Maybe this entire arc does. This issue, not so much, I don't think. Moving on to Spider-Man issue number 2, also written by Bendis. And this one just seems a little tottering, a little confusing, a little plotting to me. We begin with Spider-Man confronting Spider-Man as Peter approaches Miles after Miles has just fought off this demon. And Peter's like, yeah, Miles, I don't want to have to clean up your mess. I don't think you want to, I want you to be Spider-Man anymore. Then Miles has a flashback to when Peter first told him that he could be Spider-Man. There's versus Blackheart version 2. Peter's knocked out, so it's just Miles versus Blackheart again. And it's kind of the same battle as the first issue, where Miles hits him with the Venom Strikes and knocks him down, or knocks him out, rather. Then the Avengers wake up, and the Avengers like Miles, and Spider-Man likes Miles again, so everything's fine. Which, the whole thing, it really has no point. Spider-Man's mad at Miles, we're not really sure why, and then there's a fight, and then Spider-Man's okay with Miles being Spider-Man. Again, just kind of plotting. But one thing I really I like this bit at the end, where we figure out that someone has been recording Miles' fight with Blackheart, and this blogger discovers through tears in Miles' costume that Miles is a person of color. And she gets really excited, like, oh yeah, Spider-Man's black now, Spider-Man's brown now. Kind of reflecting the overall kind of mood of the internet circa, 2009, 2010, when Miles first made his debut, and the conversation that's still going on about there being a Spider-Man of color, which is really cool. And I like that it's kind of getting meta, kind of getting reflected in the comic that this is kind of a big deal. And she mentions also Black Captain America and women, and that Thor is a girl. And it also deals with it kind of smart in that we have Miles kind of uncomfortable by the distinction that Miles doesn't want to be Black Spider-Man, he just wants to be Spider-Man. And so I hope that they continue on that angle and make it kind of a, Black Spider-Man or just Spider-Man versus the media thing again, but with a very new and I think relevant twist to it. So yeah, first two thirds of this book kind of plotting, kind of redundant, pretty much a rehash of the first issue, but I think really picks up and goes on an interesting direction at the end. So I'm going to read issue 3, and I hope it's more of what happens at the end, and they expand on the more interesting parts of this book more. And I really hope that Blackheart doesn't return, because he doesn't pose much of a threat, to be honest. And there's a siren in the background just as I'm finishing this video. So I will try and finish this quick and speak a little loud over the siren, as we have a new issue 1 from Marvel this week, Black Widow, issue number 1. We got the Wade, Samney, and Wilson team on from Daredevil, which I hear is really good. I still haven't picked up their run, but I hear it's amazing. It's something that I will eventually get to. But yeah, Black Widow number 1. Really, really fun, exciting issue. The issue begins with Natasha, the Black Widow, being declared an enemy of S.H.I.E.L.D. She has stolen something, and this entire issue is her basically escaping S.H.I.E.L.D. She starts off in S.H.I.E.L.D. offices, where she has to fight off a bunch of agents in close quarters, before jumping out of what's revealed to be a helicarrier, and then she falls 40,000 feet onto the city, and she still has to escape. So there's a midair falling sequence where she grabs a parachute and a jetpack and all that. It is so cool. It's like a scene from a Bourne movie where Bourne's escaping all the CIA agents or whatever, but taken to 11, just taken to the ultimate possible superhero extreme. That shows just, again, how competent Natasha is, how she alone can kind of take down most of S.H.I.E.L.D. or all the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, following her already. And this whole issue is just her escaping. It's her being hounded by these soldiers and finding many ways to escape and blow them all up and everything. Not too much plot here, but just as an opening, as like a first issue that really says, okay, you're getting an action-filled book with really well-done paced action, really exciting, thrilling sequences that feel incredibly cinematic and just up to 11. This is a great book. If this were... It reminds me, I guess, the closest thing of the more action-heavy Moon Knight kind of books from, again, like the first 6 issues that Warren Ellis did of the last volume of Moon Knight. But definitely more action, more kind of cinematic. Just a really cool kind of opening issue. It's basically 5 minutes of a movie. It's, again, like it's the Bond opening where Bond escapes from foreign agents. It's a Jason Bourne action sequence. It's a spy escape action sequence with explosions and bikes and jumping out of things. So if you like that, this is an amazing comic book version of that. Again, not a lot of character. Then you get character in terms of this is Natasha Romanoff's secret agent, super spy person. Not a lot of character mood, emotion, motivation, anything like that. We don't know what she stole. We don't know why she stole it. But just a really, really damn good action sequence, and entertaining, engaging enough, and just, again, well done enough to make me think that this is going to be a really good story and plot and all that later on. Just, hook them on the first issue, hook them with that action sequence, and it's got me hooked, and I'll be staying tuned for more of this comic. And that is it for comic books this week. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video. If you want to, please subscribe to get more of these every week, as well as my reviews of movies and other videos I think of doing, whatever. Any comments, questions, recommendations, anything whatsoever, leave them in the comments, and I will get to you and talk about them and stuff, and it'll be cool, I promise. And yeah, that's it for this week in comic books. Again, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you will join me next week for some more comic book reviews.